number 10. Believe it or not, after winning, they actually drop a spot. It is the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are the 10th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, again, you said, Bryson, how the heck did they drop? It's pretty simple, folks. Is that if not for, and I give Jaden Daniels and everybody credit for this happening, but that was a miracle play. They don't call it a Hail Mary for no reason. Roger Staubach, the originator of that pass, said, who obviously Staubach's Catholic, I closed my eyes and said a Hail Mary when he threw it to Drew Pearson against the Vikings back in the 70s. So that was Jaden Daniels closed his eyes, said a prayer, Hail Mary, whatever, and by divine intervention, potentially, ball ends up in the hands of Noah Brown for the win. And I wasn't horribly impressed with Washington's performance. And they weren't able to cash the red zone a ton. That said, this is an explosive offense, relatively consistency this last Sunday being the outlier. Jaden Daniels, with his arm, his legs. Terry McLaurin is torching the NFL right now. They've got a good running game. Offensive line, again, I'm seeing slight improvements, but I think there needs to be I think this is something they need to address the draft next year. But for Washington, I'm seeing an improvement from their defense, right? 3 points against Carolina. Okay, the Panthers are the worst team in football. But 15 points against a Bears offense off of a bye and a Caleb Williams who'd been torching everybody the last few weeks. That was impressive. So they're 6-2 right now. They're, I think, the 2 seed right now in the NFC. They're an excellent football team. The Washington Commanders are the 10th best team in the National Football League. At number 9, moving up a spot from last week, it is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are the 9th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So I kept them last week on Bryce's Best 10. I kept San Francisco at number 10 despite having a losing record because I said, folks, they got Dallas at home, then they got to buy, then McCaffrey's coming back. This is the opportunity to buy low on San Francisco before they go on a little bit of a run. Now, listen, I still have questions. I still do about Brock Purdy trailing in the second half of games. He had one drive against Dallas, but he threw one pass. So kudos to him. But I still have questions about that. With that said, they got to buy. McCaffrey's coming back. Kittle's rolling. Even with McCaffrey coming back, you got this kid Garendo running the football. You got Jordan Mason. Kyle Shanahan's a wizard with running games throughout his career, okay? Deebo Samuel dealing with pneumonia, all kinds of issues. He should be back, ready to go by week 10. This defense is excellent. Yes, they gave up a couple of touchdowns to Dallas against a prevent defense. Fred Warner's awesome. Nick Bosa's crushing it. The secondary is really good. We'll see if they get Hufanga back sooner rather than later. We'll see if they get Dre Greenlaw. This is a beat-up Niners team, but they're 4-4. They got a great opportunity. Them and the Rams, I think, are the two teams, respect to Seattle and Arizona, to win the NFC West. They're playing good football right now. Brock Purdy was great with his legs against the Cowboys. The 49ers are the 9th best team in the National Football League. At number 8, falling 4 spots from last week and on a 2-game losing streak, it is the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are the 8th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, back-to-back losses. If you'd have told me Minnesota's going to lose back-to-back games to the Lions and then to the Rams in the span of 5 days, I'd have told you, oh, Sam Darnold turned back into the old Sam Darnold. Actually, no, I thought he was great against Detroit and pretty solid. Not great in the second half in terms of cashing in the red zone, but pretty darn good over the course of the game against the Rams. It's actually been the defense, which has given up 30 points in back-to-back weeks. So they lose Darisaw for the season, which is devastating. It's the best player on the Minnesota's defense. That's an absolutely brutal loss. With that said, they've still got a good pass rush. They've still got Stephon Gilmore and Harrison Smith, good veterans in that on that back end. Flores is still a great DC. Offensively, Justin Jefferson's awesome. Aaron Jones has been a great get for this team. TJ Hawkinson, again, basically everybody's beat up. We're at the midway point in the season. TJ Hawkinson should come back sooner rather than later. It's as good, as I've said all year, as good of a coaching tandem as there's in football. Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, who've absolutely been crushing it. I think the Vikings should have an opportunity to get the ship right. They got a Sunday night football game at home against the Colts. Not an easy game by any stretch, but Minnesota's fine. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but they got a productive offense and a defense that's not been good the last 2 weeks that I think is a big opportunity then for them on Sunday to turn it around. The Vikings are the 8th best team in the National Football League. At number 7, also down 4 spots from last week, it is the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, the Ravens, after being at number 3 last week, are at number 7 this week, the 7th best team in the National Football League. And here's why. So all of my fears for this Ravens team. Now, as a Steelers fan, I was exactly sad that they lost to the Cleveland Browns, but my fears for this Ravens team have kind of been realized week after week despite their wins. Is that Lamar's awesome, so has Derrick Henry, But there's 3 glaring flaws to this football team, as talented as they are. Number 1, they have the worst pass defense in football. No question about it. They desperately miss Mike McDonald. Maybe they had a pass rusher. Maybe they go out and get a corner at the trade deadline. I think that'd be beneficial for them. Baltimore cannot stop the pass whatsoever. Number 2, they're bad at closing out games. They lost the game with a double-digit lead to the Raiders. After they were destroying Dallas, Dallas cut it to a 3-point game with a few minutes to go with the chance to get the ball back before Lamar made a play, right? They were up $1 million on Tampa Bay. That ends up being somewhat of a game late. And then against the Cleveland Browns, blowing a fourth quarter lead in that spot. And number 3 is with Baltimore adding Deontay Johnson. My question is this. What do the Ravens want to be? Do they want to be a team with Lamar Jackson throwing 25 to 30 times? Or do they want Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson to drive the offense running the football? In adding Deontay Johnson after Derrick Henry just got only 11 carries. 11 carries for Derrick Henry? What are we doing? I think this team is still, and I thought they gotten out of this after they beat the Bills in week 4. I feel like this team's in a little bit still of an identity crisis, and that's not going to serve them well where they to match up in the playoffs once again against the Chiefs, who know exactly who they are, as well as other teams, including one that's above them. The Ravens, by the way, the 7th best team in the National Football League. At number 6, I think this is the highest they've ever been on Bryce's Best 10. It is my Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, are the 6th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, this is back-to-back games for Pittsburgh, as I talked about to start the show, with 400 yards of offense, back-to-back games with 400 yards of offense. First time that's happened since 2018. On the defensive side, TJ Watt, best player on the defensive side in football, and it ain't close. Okay, you got Alex Highsmith on the other side, who's a great pass rusher in his own right. You got a secondary with Joey Porter Jr. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick. You got this Beanie Bishop kid who's got 3 picks in the last 2 weeks, including the game-ending interception to close out against the Giants on Monday Night Football. It's an awesome defense. It's an awesome coach who has this team ready to play each and every week. Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson, George Pickens have been an elite trio. Add Najee Harris, who's playing the best football of his career. Listen, the only reason the Steelers aren't higher is because they're on a 3-game winning streak against 3 2-win teams. Vegas and then the 2 New York teams. But at the same time, Russell's deep ball looks as good as ever. The running game's been great. It's been best it's been, and the defense is what the defense tends to be in Pittsburgh, which is fantastic. So for those reasons, maybe a contender if they're able to dominate in the second half of the season. The Steelers are the 6th best team in the National Football League. At number 5, up a spot from last week, it is the Houston Texans. The Texans are the 5th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So I can hear what you're saying right now. Bryson? Nico Collins is on IR, and they've really struggled without Nico Collins, CJ Stroud in particular, and Stephon Diggs, God bless him, knock on wood for him, just tore his ACL, which is devastating for him. And they haven't looked that good the last few weeks. Fair enough. In the last few weeks, they dropped 41 in New England. All right, New England does have a great defense, but at the same time, Aaron Rodgers couldn't do anything against them. I don't know what happened there. Look great against New England. Okay, the next week, despite CJ Stroud throwing for sub 100 yards, it took a walk-off field goal to beat them at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers, who are an elite football team. You'll see obviously later on this list. And also, too, surviving a divisional game. Now, I get Anthony Richardson, 10 for 32. The dude literally cannot throw the football, but able to be good situationally on both sides of the ball. DeMeco Ryans is great. Again, I've said it every week on Bryce's Best 10. This team is talented. There's not much I don't like about them. They're just too young. Again, there's kind of it's been funny. And I think Stroud's definitely better than Purdy. But both Purdy and Stroud have struggled without their weapons in the last few weeks. I just trust the Niners more because they got more veterans, and they've been to this stage before. That said, Houston's really good. Right now, I think they're a little bit better than San Francisco. The Texans, winning without their guys right now, we'll see if that continues, are the 5th best team in the National Football League. The team they lost a couple weeks ago is at number 4, up a spot from last week. It is the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are the 4th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. Look, who'd have thought this would be the first name I mentioned when I talk about Green Bay? I've been blown away by Malik Willis. I mean, come on. This is a guy who I thought was like Anthony Richardson last year, except less athletic. Couldn't throw to save his life. The Titans coaches didn't trust him. Played pretty well against the Colts. Played really well against one of the best defenses of football, the Tennessee Titans, despite their record. And then comes in against the Jaguars in a game where my man Trevor Lawrence looks like he sees the game, an opportunity to win. And here comes Malik Willis with a dime to Jaden Reed to set the Packers in field goal range to win it back-to-back weeks on a walk-off field goal. Listen, I don't know if Jordan Love's going to play this week against Detroit. They, I think, absolutely need him to beat the Detroit Lions, who are red hot right now. But this Packers defense, again, they had a rough day at the office. Trevor Lawrence has been playing outstanding, so I'll give them a pass. But Xavier McKinney is in the 3 or 4 guys up for defensive, or I should say, to come in second for Defensive Player of the Year to one TJ Watt. But the pass rush is good. The secondary's been opportunistic. The upgrade DC has helped. They have as deep a wide receiving core as there is in football. The Green Bay Packers are the 4th best team in the National Football League. At number 3, the highest they've been on Bryce's Best 10, maybe ever, going up 4 spots from last week. It is the Buffalo Bills. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bills are the 3rd best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, the last few weeks, this team has been absolutely impressive. So, you think about the spot, right? Okay, so they lose to the Texans, they beat the Jets. Okay, they look fine. But they go into a game against Tennessee, who, again, is, I think, number 1 in the NFL in a good way in yards per game given up. And the Buffalo Bills score 34 points. And how many yards they have in that game? The Buffalo Bills had 389 yards against the Titans, win by 24. Then they go to Seattle in a game I thought they'd cover, but it'd be close, and mop the Seahawks, who had just mopped Atlanta the week prior. Geno Smith was a disaster in that game. This Bills defense is real. It's been excellent the last few weeks. Sean McDermott's done a good job on that side. And the fact that this team added Amari Cooper with James Cook, with Keon Coleman, this is why I said, even prior to them trading for Amari Cooper, I said before this year, I said, people thinking the Jets are better than this team. They still have Josh Allen, who's miles better than Rodgers, a defense that is as good, if not better, certainly as of late, than the Jets, and a wide receiving core that's got Coleman, it's got Kincaid. Cook runs the football. It's a really good O-line. And Joe Brady, by the way, has been one of the better offensive coordinators in football. This Bills team, people thought last year was the best chance to beat the Chiefs, which I never bought into. This year might actually be the best year for the Bills to win, to beat the Chiefs, at least since that heartbreaking loss a few years ago in the divisional round. The Bills are the 3rd best team in the National Football League. And again, they're going to have to show me that they're not number 1 and number 2, because they've been that from week 1 without fail all the way to week 9. But let's go back through it. At number 2, it is the Detroit Lions. The Lions are the 2nd best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, Dan Campbell, what'd y'all do again, my man?
Kneecap.
I've never seen. They beat the Titans, which they were supposed to. They were double-digit favorites against Tennessee at home. You're supposed to win that game. But against Tennessee, folks, they win 52-14 in a game that Jared Goff throws for 85 yards. Goff throws for 85. They drop 52. David Montgomery throws a touchdown. They have a punt return by Khalif Raymond for a touchdown. He also catches a touchdown. They got one of the best tight ends in the game, and Sam Laporta. Thunder with David Montgomery. Lightning with Jahmyr Gibbs, who was great in this game once again. This is, to me, far and away the best offense in football. No doubt about it. Best O-line. Goff's great with no pressure. Time in the pocket to throw. Elite running game. Wide receivers. I'm concerned about the Jameson Williams thing. We'll see how that shakes itself out. The legal stuff. But he's a burner. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, they are... Ben Johnson is just toying with people week after week. Dan Campbell's got these guys ready to play. The defense, even without Aiden Hutchinson, has been great the last few weeks. I thought this team was going to win the NFC from the jump. I've seen absolutely no reason to believe that I should change that pick. The Lions are once again, since week 1, the 2nd best team in the National Football League. And at number 1, like Detroit, where they've been all season long, it is the back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the best team in the National Football League, and here's why. Call me when they lose. They haven't lost since Christmas. Mahomes is the best fourth-quarter quarterback by far, by the numbers, in the NFL. Closes games better than anybody. They got one of, if not the best defenses in football. Kelsey, again, not the player they used to be, but on occasion, he can give you a big one. He had 10 catches for 90. I think he caught a touchdown, too, against the Raiders. Now they added D-Hop. They'll get Hollywood Brown back in December. The best coach of football, Andy Reid. The best defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. Why I keep hearing what's wrong with the Chiefs every week. Here's what I also see. They don't lose, like, ever. Haven't lost since Christmas Day to the Las Vegas Raiders, who they beat in Vegas on Sunday. This is, to me, still Mahomes has to give me a reason. I've said I'll bet against Mahomes winning a championship when he gives me a reason to. I'll bet against the Chiefs losing a game until they tell me to. The Chiefs, no question, are the best team in the National Football League. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.